Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Aiken. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning, and I'm so glad you've joined us this morning. We have a lot to cover. We're going to be talking about, obviously, Iran. We'll be talking a lot of New York State issues. So let's get right to it with viewer comments. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. On our local news, I'm not going to mention the specific outlet. I hope you don't mind. It was reported that college students face the grimmest job market at 5 point something, according to some New York State-based organization responsible for the report. But what gets me is that there was no mention about whether this job outlook applies to only New York State or nationwide. I suspect it only applied to New York State. If my suspicion is true, even our local outlets are guilty of misleading rhetoric bordering on the outright lie due to its incomplete explanation. Thank you very much. And again, just a personal rule there, not mentioning the specific outlet, but I appreciate it. Comment from Steve, who says, good morning. Well, good morning, Steve. This is for all of those who have lost the ability to think for themselves. Keep protecting the criminal illegal immigrants. I'll tell you what. How about you volunteer where you live to allow them to live with you? And let's see what happens to you. Don't impede law enforcement. You won't have to worry about being a used political expendable piece of the Democrats' plan. Keep being a good little antagonist believer that you're proving yourself to be. You tend to forget that as citizens, we are the ones actually that have our Bill of Rights. That's not included for illegal immigrants. Learn what the laws are before making such a blatant statement that illegal immigrants have rights, because they don't. We're going to talk about illegal immigration, that horrific story of Sheridan Gorman being murdered. I've got a couple of stories on that coming up in just a moment. But some breaking news coming in early this morning. President Trump declared victory over Iran's nuclear threat after boasting U.S. and Israeli forces cut out the, quote, cancer, before going on to claim that the Islamic Republic is afraid of striking a deal. At the National Republican Congressional Committee Wednesday, Trump told the crowd, what we had to do is get rid of the cancer. We had to cut out the cancer. The cancer was Iran with a nuclear weapon. We've cut it out. Now we've got to finish it off. Trump's bullish remarks come just days after Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu claimed Iran had no ability to enrich uranium, vowing to crush Tehran's nuclear program to, quote, dust. The president said that the U.S. had no choice but to attack Iran. Forces are decimating the other side, but claimed Tehran wants to negotiate, even though its regime leaders publicly dismissed proposed ceasefire plans. Quote, we're winning so big, nobody's ever seen anything like what we're doing in the Middle East with Iran. They are negotiating, by the way, and they want to make a deal so badly, but they're afraid to say it because they figure they'll be killed by their own people. They're also afraid they'll be killed by us. Trump had told aides he wants the conflict to end in the coming weeks, according to the Wall Street Journal. White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt said the U.S. military is, quote, ahead of schedule. The Pentagon set an initial timeline of 4 to 6 weeks. Leavitt also warned Iran would be hit harder than they have ever been hit before if its leadership failed to recognize it had been defeated militarily. Quote, President Trump does not bluff, and he is prepared to unleash, we'll say heck, Iran should not miscalculate. Again, their last miscalculation cost them their senior leadership, their Navy, their Air Force, and their air defense system. Tehran has vowed that it has no intention of negotiating with U.S. and Israel. Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi told state media that there are no negotiations underway. No negotiations have happened with the enemy until now, and we do not plan on any negotiations. He claimed Washington had sent various messages through friendly countries. The fact that messages are sent and we respond with warnings or state our position does not constitute negotiation or dialogue. It is an exchange of messages. Efforts are being made for talks between Iran and the U.S. to be held in Pakistan tomorrow, but Tehran is skeptical. Officials within the Islamic Republic have told countries trying to mediate peace talks that we don't want to be fooled again, after claiming Trump had tricked them twice. Yes, we reported yesterday that they are concerned that it could be a ruse, that some of their leaders would come out of hiding, and then that would be the end of those leaders. Speaking of one, an elite Iranian Navy chief who gave the green light to close the Strait of Hormuz has been killed in an airstrike on Thursday, according to a report. Alireza Tangri, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard's Corps Navy commander, was eliminated in a strike on the Iranian port city of Bandar Abbas, located on the Strait, an Israeli official told the Jerusalem Post. Neither the Israeli Defense Forces nor the Iranian military has commented on the strike. Now, his reported death comes after the assassination of IRGC spokesperson Ali Mohammed Nani and the regime's de facto leader Ali Larijani and its anti-protest enforcer Galermerez Soleimani. All right. Also, as an update from a story we haven't had for you in quite some time, the U.S. military said it carried out a strike yesterday on a boat accused of smuggling drugs in the Caribbean Sea, killing 4 people, as the Trump administration pushes forward with a months-long campaign against alleged traffickers in Latin America while waging a war against Iran. This coming from the New York Post and the Associated Press. The latest attack brings the number of people who have been killed in boat strikes by the U.S. military to at least 163 since the Trump administration began targeting those it calls narco-terrorists in early September. As with most of the military's statements on the dozens of strikes in the Eastern Pacific Ocean and Caribbean Sea, U.S. Southern Command said it targeted the alleged drug traffickers along known smuggling routes. The military did not provide evidence that the vessel was ferrying drugs. This, of course, from the Associated Press. A video posted on X showed a boat moving across the water before it was engulfed in a bright explosion. Also, and we're going to be talking about the TSA. We're going to be talking about ICE being involved. But before that, this is being reported by CBS News. The White House has rejected the offer, and I know a lot of people have asked about this on the program, have rejected the offer from billionaire Elon Musk to pay TSA workers during a partial government shutdown. The suggestion was taken seriously by the Trump administration officials, but there could be legal challenges for Musk to cover the pay, even indirectly, because of Musk's various government contracts. Another reason, White House officials believe the partial shutdown is likely to end soon. White House Press Secretary Karen Leavitt blamed Democrats for the shutdown and called for the restoration of funding. It's the Democrats who have led to the stalemate over the past 6 weeks, she said. The president and the Republicans' position has been very clear. Fund the Department of Homeland Security. So there's your update, and I'll probably read that update again when we start talking about TSA. Boy, we have a lot of updates. Did you happen to see that in New York State news, according to his own polling, Blakeman is just 9 points away from Governor Hochul? Now, that is his in-house polling. I know there's been some criticism of Blakeman's campaign strategy thus far, but we're going to be talking about what that means, what that could potentially mean a little bit later on. We also have an update from Senator Tom O'Mara, and we have an update from Assemblyman Phil Palmisano, and a clip from Assemblyman Ed Raw, who is the head of the Republican Party there in the Assembly. So we will be talking about that. We'll hear from him a little bit later on as well. We've got a couple of oddball stories I want to get to. Just sometimes I like to start off with these just to kind of get your opinion before we get into the really heavy issues. This is great news. Last year's hunting season, 2025 hunting season in New York State, was the safest on record. I know we have a big hunting constituency, that's not the right word, contingent here on the program, but the 2025 hunting season was the safest in New York's recorded history, according to numbers just released by the State Department of Environmental Conservation. Nearly 600,000 hunters take to the woods and fields across New York each year, making it one of the most popular forms of wildlife-related recreation in the state. And this is coming from, I got cut off. The total number of hunting-related shooting incidents in New York in 2025 was 7, 5 of which were self-inflicted. Two of those situations involved more than one person, One incident involved an unlicensed individual who was hunting illegally. Fortunately, there were no fatalities in 2025. The last time that happened was a decade ago. DEC Commissioner Amanda Lefton credited the historically low number of incidents to the agency's hunter education program and the volunteer instructors who help run it, saying, quote, "In addition to being safe, hunting is ecologically important, helping manage wildlife populations, promoting conservation-related behavior, and providing a local, affordable food source." So there you are. Great news. Now here, I got to get your take on this. Have you ever looked at Washington, and we see their dismal numbers? Have you ever looked at Washington and said, you know what we need? More politicians. Well, an independent candidate in New York's 21st Congressional District believes just that. Brian Ralou, an independent candidate who is seeking to represent Northern New York in Congress, would like to see the U.S. House grow, the United States House of Representatives. Right now, in the U.S. House of Representatives, there's 435 voting members. Mr. Ralou wants to increase that number from 435 to 6,600 voting members in the United States House of Representatives. Raul, who's 44, works as a developmental disabilities secure care treatment aide. He believes that Congress has become too distant and is now too small to represent the roughly 342 million people living in the U.S. He wants to put forward a plan in Congress that would reverse century-old legislation that caps the House at 435 members and start tracking the number of members to the number of people living in the U.S. 50,000 people per representative. He sees this year's election, when voters in the New York's 21st Congressional District are set to pick someone who has never been a representative before, as a perfect opportunity to make big changes in Washington. Raul said that with the very tight margins between the parties in the House that could carry through next year, a truly independent lawmaker will have an opportunity to drive policy in an unprecedented way. His plan fits with the agenda of Uncap the House, a civic activism group that advocates for growing the number of representatives in Washington. Raul argues that if lawmakers only represented 50,000 people, they'd be more responsive to their constituents, and it would be easier for the average person to win an election. He said the small district would also make gerrymandering, where district maps are drawn to give a particular political party an advantage, nearly impossible. The plan would make the U.S. House the single largest elected body in the world, more than twice the size of China's National People's Congress, but would put the U.S. Congress more closely in line with the original plan of the Founding Fathers, he argues. In the Constitution, the House had no cap on members, and districts were meant to have 30,000 residents with at least one per state. Now, the one per state rule still stands, but now the average congressional district is closer to 761,000 people per representatives. That's one of the lowest lawmaker to resident ratios in the world and the lowest among Western-style representative governments. Some lawmakers have backed efforts to expand the body, but no serious proposals have gained steam in many decades. All right, there you go. So the independent candidate in New York's 21st Congressional District, according to the Adirondack Daily Enterprise, wants to see the U.S. House grow from 435 voting members to more than 6,600. We got a couple of other quick stories to get to. Oh, no. Well, yeah, maybe a couple quick stories. And then we're going to get into some more breaking news and some, I just think, some topics we need to discuss. So stay with us. We will be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
You don't have time to go to the gym? The health club is not an option? Come to Hesselson today and see why swim spas and fitness systems can fit into anyone's yard and budget. 12-foot, 14-foot, 15-foot, 18-foot dual temperature hot tub and swim spas are all on display in Hesselson's indoor and outdoor showroom. Try before you buy. 0% interest-free financing options are available on every Hesselson swim spa. Swim and exercise year-round and start making every day better. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
This was our last chance to show who our son was. I can't say enough about pre-planning. When you are in those moments, you are not thinking clearly.
We showed up for the remembrance, and we walked in and we just, wow.
It was arranged perfectly. Yeah. I certainly could not have done that in that moment. So to have those pre-conversations, it's really important.
Visit carpentersphillipsflint.com to learn more about our family-owned funeral homes.
When a child is fighting a critical illness, one truth touches us all. Every child deserves a childhood. A wish sparks a ripple of hope that transforms communities far and wide. And when we grant wishes together, We create a movement of kindness, strength, and unity. Yay! Become a wishmaker today and be part of a journey that truly changes lives.
Happy Thursday, everyone, and thanks for checking in. 67 today, well above that average by nearly 20 degrees. As we head into the afternoon, rain develops, and it will be a pretty soggy afternoon into the overnight time period. Again, this front is going to come through and then drop temperatures as we head into Friday and Saturday. So maybe even a little wintry mix or some light snowflakes trying to develop into that early Friday morning time period. But decreasing clouds Friday, 38 degrees, waking up on Saturday.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Let's go to some viewer comments. Did you happen to see where Iran threatened all the other Gulf states that if they help the United States, they're going to fall victim to the tyranny? If the other Arab nations don't start protecting themselves, why should we? And currently, even though the UK said that we could start using the military bases again, maybe to teach them a lesson, we should help assist the oil tankers that are going any place other than through the UK. Have them fend for themselves because they still allow no-go zones and Sharia law in their country. You can't make this up. Also, they added, because of that story I brought to you, asking for viewers' opinion on Oregon Initiative Petition 28, known as the Peace Act out of Oregon. It aims to amend state law to prohibit killing almost any animal, effectively criminalizing hunting, fishing, trapping, and livestock farming. The measure removes current exemptions for these activities, targeting 2026 to ban most animal quote-unquote slaughter. Well, thank you for that. I did not hear about that, but I did look it up during the break, and it is an initiative. It sounds like the cap on how many cows you could have in New York State, done by those in Manhattan. Comment from a different viewer. Where is it? Oh, it was the lowest hunting accidents, no doubt, because the farmers from New York City couldn't afford to travel to upstate. That's a good point. Comment from a different viewer. How about congressmen actually start doing what the people actually believe they should be doing? When 80% believe there should be voter ID, that's a no-brainer. The only reason to not want that is because you believe in corrupting the voting system and elections. Thank you very much. Got reactions on all of our stories this morning. Comment from a different viewer. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. I hope this poll is actually correct where Blakeman is concerned, but I myself don't believe in polls. They're very rarely accurate. And as far for hunters' safety, that's great, but I question whether it's just because there are far fewer hunters. That's a fair point. And to your point about polls, I don't either. And this is an internal poll done by Blakeman, which any candidate... See, I actually tend to lean towards internal polls more than what you see on the mainstream media. Mainstream media has kind of a bias there. What I think internal, both what Democrats do and Republicans do, with the internal polling, you don't want biased numbers. You want the facts to see where your campaign is headed. So it is interesting. It does make him within striking distance. But I'm with you. I take it with a huge grain of salt. We'll talk about it a little bit later on in the program. Did you see that? I don't want to talk too much about her, but Kristi Noem kept Corey Lewandowski close by her side for her first appearance in her new job after she was fired at the DHS. I mean, one of the reasons they said she was fired at DHS, there's two reasons. That she said Trump knew about that $220 million ad buy and he didn't. That outraged him. And also that she would not answer a yes or no about whether she was having an affair with Lewandowski. So the New York Post goes a little salacious with it, saying Kristi Noem kept her lover, Corey Lewandowski, close at hand as she made her first appearance in her new job after she was booted from the Department of Homeland Security. Noem and Lewandowski sat side by side across from the Guyanese president, Irfan Ali, during a meeting in the South America country on Tuesday. She was all smiles during the meeting, which came just weeks after she was grilled over the supposed affair in a Senate Judicial Committee hearing early in March. This is what I mean about Kristi Noem, and we talked about it yesterday, and the optics, whether it's her putting that story about her dog in her book, or whether it's spending all that money to basically do a campaign ad for herself at taxpayers' expense. She's not good at, for lack of a better word, public relations, and in this case, optics. I mean, my goodness, you can't have him sit out one meeting after that disastrous way she handled that hearing. She did so poorly in that hearing. She was dismissed as Secretary of Homeland Security. Now, Noam and Lewandowski are both married to other people, but have been rumored to have affairs for years. They're also facing criminal investigation on that $220 million ad buy. According to senior DHS officials, they're investigating the rewarding of billions of dollars in no-bid contracts. The Homeland Security Inspector General has launched the investigation, sending notices to dozens of people involved in approving the contracts, including many in Noam's inner circle. These officials are being ordered to preserve all communications, including documents, text messages, emails, and phone records. Quote, "It's long overdue and much needed," one senior DHS official familiar with the matter said. "There has been too much shady stuff done under their watch." Notices are being sent to current and former employees, among them Noam and her top advisor, Lewandowski, who were forced out earlier this month, as we know, and that controversial $220 million ad campaign. However, the criminal probe is not limited to the ad, and investigators are digging into a wide range of other contracts personally approved by Noam's office. The investigation is ongoing and no crime has been alleged. But if the investigation concludes there was criminal activity involving the approval of the contracts, then the case would be referred to the Department of Justice in Washington or any number of U.S. attorney offices for prosecution. So we'll be keeping a close eye on that. But speaking of that, her replacement, I think many people, myself included, are looking forward to Mark Wayne Mullen being the head of the DHS. Did you see Jimmy Kimmel ripped into him saying he's the now former senator of Oklahoma before he was elected to the Senate? Mark Wayne Mullen was a low-level MMA fighter and a plumber. That's right, we have a plumber protecting us from terrorism now. It worked for Super Mario. Why not Mark Wayne? But honestly, I mean, if Trump is going to keep picking these unqualified people to run the department, why not have more fun with it? I mean, next time, instead of Mark Wayne, how about Little Wayne for Homeland Security? At least we can get a concert out of it, right? Needless to say, a lot of people took issue with just the elitist attitude of someone like Jimmy Kimmel to mock and ridicule plumbers. Senator Cynthia Loomis from Wyoming said the disdain for which the Democrats and Hollywood elites have for the working class Americans and folks who step up to do important jobs for this country is shameful. These people need help. Ted Cruz said, "I prefer plumbers to woke and unfunny comedians." Real Clear investigator senior writer Mark Hemingway said, "I would rather be protected by plumbers than lawyers." Chris Saliza, who used to work for CNN, no conservative, said not a good look, or not a great look. Townhall.com writer Amy Curtis said, "This is your reminder that Jimmy Kimmel does not have a degree, save an honorary doctorate from UNLV. So does not have a degree, but lecturing Mark Wayne." Representative Mike Collins said the elites too often look down their noses at blue-collar middle America. They try to demean a man by calling him a plumber, as if plumbing is something to be ashamed of or is somehow a lesser profession than a court gesture, turning tricks on late-night commentary. Comedy is dead. But even just calling a U.S. Senator and Cabinet Secretary a plumber doesn't do justice to a man who built a successful business in a highly competitive environment that provides jobs for several plumbers, actually, and others that then feed many families. Plumbers, truckers, builders, tradesmen, etc. built this country and continue to be a vital part of our economic backbone. It's not just jobs, it's a spirit of actually using the sweat of your brow, determination, and yes, intellect to add in a productive way to America, a land of pioneers. Western civilization can't survive without the men and women who provide blue-collar services. Late-night political commentary masquerading as comedy would never be missed. Whew. There you go. I just wanted to mention that quickly. I don't like spending time on Jimmy Kimmel, but I thought it was worth the second on the air to just show you what they think of blue-collar workers, what they think of everyday Americans. And it is a hatred, isn't it? All right, when we come back, we're going to talk about Sheridan Gorman's tragic murder. And then we're going to get into Iran. As I said, New York, a lot of issues going on there. The polling results give Bruce Blakeman a potential path to victory. As I mentioned, I think it was at 9% that he was at. So we can talk about that as well. Keep those comments, keep those waves coming in, and we'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
It's the home of creativity. Release Unleash your inner audio engineer. Create with the 3D printer. Make your clothing ideas come together with our sewing machine rentals. Or come to the library event nights to chat with those within your community. All with your library card. Go to your local library today.
Thanks for coming to talk about Doug Jr.
Of course. Third grade is when I learned Liberty Mutual could save you hundreds by customizing your car insurance.
Why don't you come sit with us?
Oh, a little snug. Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
At Simmons Rockwell Nissan, lease a brand new 2026 Nissan Sentra SV front-wheel drive sedan with no money down for only $299 a month for 39 months. Make car buying simple. Drive your deal at Simmons Rockwell Nissan in Horseheads and Hornell.
After my wife died, it was like I lost myself too. I didn't feel like doing anything or seeing anyone. Then my granddaughter called to say she misses me, and I realized I had to make a change. I got referred to a psychiatrist, and she explained depression can happen to anyone. I'm learning that getting help for my depression doesn't make me weak. It makes me stronger. I just wish it made me better at fishing.
Alcoholics Anonymous.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. So the family of Sheridan Gorman is pushing back on comments from Chicago and Illinois leaders saying her killing was not a, quote, senseless tragedy, and demanding accountability for what they call systemic failures. 18-year-old Gorman was killed on March 19th at around 1:06 a.m. while she was with friends at a pier on the city's Roger Park area. Officials say that Jose Medina, 25, an illegal immigrant from Venezuela, allegedly fired one shot at the Loyola University Chicago student, killing her. Medina was apprehended by the U.S. Border Patrol on May 9th, 2023, and was released into the U.S. under the Biden administration. The Gorman family is demanding accountability. What happened to Sheridan cannot be reduced to a senseless tragedy, nor can it be explained in general terms about public safety. Sheridan was our daughter. She was 18 years old. She was doing something entirely normal, walking near her campus with friends. She should be here. Calling this senseless is not enough. There must be a clear and honest accounting of what went wrong. We will not allow Sheridan's life to be reduced to a talking point or a generalization. We expect leadership that is willing to confront hard truths and ensure that what happened to her does not happen again. They also responded to Governor J.D. Pritzker's recent comments, writing that calling this a tragedy is not enough. Sheridan's death cannot be reduced to a general tragedy, nor can it be explained away by broad references to failures somewhere else. Sheridan was a daughter, a sister, and a young woman whose life was taken in a way that should never have been possible. We are not interested in political arguments or in watching responsibilities shift from one place to another. If there were failures, as the governor himself has acknowledged, then every one of them must be identified, examined, and addressed directly. The location of those failures matters less than the willingness to confront them honestly. Our daughter is not a policy debate. She is a life that was taken, and that demands accountability. Now, Pritzker tried to shift blame to the Trump administration during an event recently. This has been a terrible tragedy, and I know that the Gorman family has suffered mightily. There have been real failures. Those failures, of course, extend beyond the borders of Illinois. That's their national failures. A failure to have a comprehensive immigration reform, a failure of the president to allow his own edict to go after the worst of the worst, to follow his own edict to go after the worst of the worst. That's how J.B. Pritzker addressed this tragedy. And I'm not going to read through every politician's really, almost in some ways, heartless comments. But listen to this. And this is why when we talk about, I think a lot of conservatives kind of celebrated too early the end of this kind of woke culture or the end of this political correctness. Listen to this. Loyola University Chicago's student newspaper, their student newspaper at Loyola University Chicago, is facing backlash. Why? They apologized for its coverage of freshman Sheridan Gorman's murder because the editors labeled the alleged murderer a, quote, illegal immigrant. They apologized for that. So they write a piece about it, obviously, in Loyola University's student newspaper, and they call the alleged murderer a, quote, illegal immigrant. They were forced to apologize for that. The newspaper's headline originally read, "Immigrant man charged in murder of Sheridan Gorman, DHS involved." The student paper's headline, that's what it originally read. Then they referred to Venezuelan national Medina as a, quote, illegal immigrant. But the Phoenix later, that's the name of the newspaper, later edited its story to describe Medina as a Rogers Park resident. No longer, so they edited out illegal immigrant, now calling him a Rogers Park resident, in reference to the Chicago neighborhood where Loyola's main campus is located. That, quote, this is what the newspaper said in a lengthy editor's note on the article. Quote, that headline didn't reflect the most important elements in the story, and it was taken down minutes later to prevent any further harm to affected community members. Quote, additionally, in the body of the original post, we described the man who is charged as an illegal immigrant, using language provided by the Department of Homeland Security. That language does not align with Associated Press style, nor does it align with the values of this newspaper. No human's existence is illegal, and we quickly changed our wording to reflect that. Despite noting in its article that Medina was living in the United States illegally. Needless to say, the responses to that have been nothing but outrage. If I were the parents, this would send me over the edge. If I were her parents, this would send me over the edge. No dystopian could conjure the college-aged laugh as they are now. They surpass parody. But it's not something, and I get that person's point. It's not parody, though. It's not something to laugh at. Yes, Orwell could not have ever dreamt anything like what we're seeing on college campuses. That's a fair point. Apologizing to murderers, how typically woke. It's unbelievable, folks, when you see stories like this. And remember, we have the Chicago alderwoman, Maria Haddon, who said that Gorman was in the wrong place at the wrong time, even claiming outrageously that Medina may have been startled when he allegedly shot the teenager. Hayden, a progressive ally of Chicago's mayor, apologized before blaming the conservative media for misconstruing her words. Trump blames Biden's open border and Pritzker's sanctuary policies for Sheridan Gorman's murder, saying at the National Republican Congressional Committee meeting, our annual fundraising dinner, less than 1 week ago, a precious 18-year-old college student named Sheridan Gorman was shot and killed while walking in a park innocently. The illegal alien monster charged with Sheridan's brutal murder had come illegally from Venezuela and had been released into our country by sleepy Joe Biden, pathetic worst president. Trump said that Gorman's alleged murderer, Jose Medina, was then arrested again and released again by the Democrat Governor J.B. Pritzker, one of the worst governors in the history of our country, in the sanctuary city of Chicago. The president said Democrat politicians don't care about the American blood they spill in their very demented pursuit of these open borders. Trump said as part of the quest to restore public safety, corrupt Democrat officials who conspire to obstruct federal law must be held accountable. The president also claimed it would be easy for federal law enforcement to address crime in Chicago if Pritzker, who he referred to as a slob, would invite them in. We could go to Chicago if that slob would allow us. If he'd just say, please come, Mr. President, people are being killed here all the time. Please come. I would come and you would have no crime practically. Chicago would be easy for us, but they don't want to say that because they actually, I think, like it. I don't know. They're sick people. Now, the former Illinois governor, remember the name Rod Blagojevich? Some scandals involving his time as governor of Illinois. He shared a stunning theory about the illegal migrant accused of executing a Chicago area college student, Gorman. He went, I think it was on X. Yeah, he wrote on X. He said, Sheridan Gorman's killer is being held in isolation. I suspect Pritzker and the Democrats are hiding him to cover up the fact that this illegal immigrant killed an innocent young girl as part of a gang initiative. I know gangbangers and how they operate. I lived with them for 8 years, and I know Pritzker and the Dems. Bet you I'm right. So that is his theory, that it was a gang initiation. Interesting. There's one other piece we're going to get to on this, and then we're going to move along to Iran. So stay with us, because Miranda Devine has a really interesting take on this. Then we'll get into Iran and a lot of New York State issues. So stay with us. We're moving fast this morning. You don't want to go anywhere.
Hi, this is Tom Witzel, owner of Hesselson's in Amara Heights. At Hesselson's, we care about your well-being and overall health, whether it's relieving stress, muscle recovery, increasing circulation, or just revitalizing the body. Hesselson's now has 2 complete line of infrared and traditional rock saunas in our new and expanded showroom. Come in today and see why owning a sauna is the start of your new healthy lifestyle. Hesselson's is still locally and family-owned and operated in Amara Heights. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Matej is a veteran. He was a combat medic in the Army.
I did tours in Korea, Germany, and Bosnia before I got injured.
There's been a lot of wear and tear on his body.
My knees are bone on bone from doing all those jumps and lugging my backpack and all that gear around. I was also exposed to toxins.
When Yusuf got out of the military, he needed help getting his disability benefits.
Luckily, DAV came to the rescue. They fought for me the same way that I fought for my country.
Every year, DAV provides life-changing support to more than 1 million veterans like Yusuf, helping them get the benefits they've earned so they can achieve victories, great and small.
Now Yusuf is paying it forward. DAV has been instrumental in helping him start 2 healthcare technology companies that are working to help veterans everywhere.
My victory is never giving up and finding more ways to serve.
He's pretty amazing.
Support more victories for veterans. Go to DAV.org.
Happy Thursday, everyone, and thanks for checking in. 67 today, well above that average by nearly 20 degrees. As we head into the afternoon, rain develops, and it will be a pretty soggy afternoon into the overnight time period. Again, this front is going to come through and then drop temperatures as we head into Friday and Saturday. So maybe even a little wintry mix or some light snowflakes trying to develop into that early Friday morning time period. But decreasing clouds Friday, 38 degrees, waking up on Saturday morning.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. Let's go to some viewer comments. Rick's writing in early this morning. Rick, good morning. And Rick says good morning to me as well. Thank you. Well, so far I got nothing on Trump today. His proposed deal making with Iran didn't get a very warm reception. When Iran releases their list of wants, it will get a cold shoulder on our end. So in the meantime, the war goes on and might even ratchet up more. I just caught this. The GOP created a new award for Trump and his leadership, the America First Award. Last, maybe, but not first. So hey, all kidding aside, I really appreciate you and your show. I'm obviously on the other side, but you read my comments anyway. I see that as a good thing. I do too, Rick. Fair as fair can be for Red Network in upstate New York. Thank you. Have a great week. And I hope you have a great weekend too, Rick. Thank you. Appreciate the kind words. Comment from a different viewer. Gorman was killed where Governor... and the Governor Pritzker made his video walking along the shoreline saying how it is safe to visit. And it's as safe as it can be there. Yet there has been not a single journalist that has actually pushed back on that, bringing up that video. It shows how much the media isn't actually there to show the truth. They are just an extension of all the lies that people are believing. Thank you very much. Comment from a different viewer. Frank, this is so disturbing. I can't imagine losing a son or daughter, and then to slap them in the face on top of it is just unconscionable. I agree. To downplay that murder because of a political agenda, or I don't even want to say make it worse because that's bad enough, but then to also use it as some type of political attack on Trump. It's despicable. It's shameless. They have no shame, I should say. Shameless, would that be right? Shameful. It's shameful. It's despicable what they do, and on a regular basis, and it's almost like we're numb to it because there's not an issue where a J.B. Pritzker, who has some delusions of grandeur that he's going to run for president and win, that any line is going to be used to attack Trump. I like that, unconscionable. I think you're right. Comment from a different viewer: if the truthful label of illegal immigrant is not acceptable by woke donkeys, then what should a murderer be referred to as? A taker of life? As a victim of circumstance? Get a life, you low-life woke donkeys. Thank you very much. Yeah, to apologize, essentially, like that one commentator said, to apologize to the murderer, essentially, that no human being is illegal. But Miranda Devine said, and I have to get through this quickly, saying, this is from the New York Post, Democrat lies will get us killed. The false narratives they peddle through their media handmaidens end up distorting reality and poisoning people's minds. Exhibit A is their rancid defamation campaign about ICE, which mirrors precisely their long-running lies about systematically racist police that led to the deadly riots in 2020 and the defund police policies that drove up the homicide rate and endangered communities across the country. We see how it works this week as Blumenthal, Hakeem Jeffries, Chuck Schumer claimed in unison that ICE agents helping ease TSA lines at airports this week will brutalize and kill you and kidnap your children inside the airports, essentially. That was their talking point. We talked about how outrageous it was, but the media didn't report it on it as outrageous. It's taken as fact. But in fact, the ICE agents are kindly giving stranded passengers bottles of water, helping with their luggage, and performing tasks that free up TSA workers who have missed their third paycheck thanks to the Democrats. The 3-hour-plus delays Americans have to endure to get through airport security are music to Democrats' ears, regardless of the inconvenience and potential safety risk. They just pretend it's President Trump's fault. The sole aim of Democrats is to punish Americans for voting Trump into office. Dems get away with it by shamelessly lying and then pretending they are the paradigms of truthfulness. They smear ICE agents as Gestapo, white supremacists, Nazis, and secret police with the objective of turning the American public against them. Trump's gambit of placing ICE in airports to ease the pain of travelers is a challenge to the lies, because now people can see the agents are not the monsters they have been painted. After the lies come the threats from Democrats who abuse their power of office as regularly as they breathe. For instance, the Soros-backed, criminal-loving Philadelphia District Attorney Larry Krasner this week vowed to jail ICE agents working at the airport, saying, quote, "The president cannot pardon you, and yes, I will put you in handcuffs, and I will put you in a jail cell if you decide to make the terrazzo floor of this airport anything like you did the streets of Minneapolis, which involved the criminal homicide of unarmed innocent people." Democrats' lies created the mayhem in Minneapolis, where ICE agents trying to deport criminal illegal aliens, including child rapists, were besieged by mobs of protesters driven insane by a false narrative that they were molesting law-abiding migrants and U.S. citizens with brown skin. One of the most maligned Democrat fabulists is pathological liar and many times disgraced Obama CIA Director John Brennan, who told CNN this week he takes the word of a terrorist state bent on destroying the U.S. over the word of the American president. I tend to believe Iran more than I do Donald Trump. This is a guy instrumental in pushing the Dirty 51 letter to interfere with the 2020 election by falsely claiming Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation. Nobody believes anything this Russia hoaxer says. A recent CIA review of the corrupted 2016 intelligence community assessment on Russia in election interference found Brennan forced the inclusion of the false Steele dossier against the objections of CIA Moscow experts who told him it did not meet even the most basic tradecraft standards. "Yes, but does it ring true?" replied Brennan, and thus the coup against the newly elected Trump was launched. Democrat lawmakers like Jamie Raskin and Adam Schiff and their slavish legal minions use their silver tongues to tell the most corrosive lies and cover up Democrat crimes. Whether it's falsely accusing Trump of being a Russian agent and inciting an insurrection, or lying that Joe Biden was innocent despite slam dunk evidence he was up to his neck in the family's lucrative foreign influence peddling, or pretending the border is closed and that the botched Afghanistan withdrawal was a success, or claiming that defunding the police will make communities safer. They always find a way to excuse the inexcusable and flip the script. Somehow they manage to fool their followers and their willfully gullible media allies. Take Illinois governor and Nepo baby, J.B. Pritzker, who this week blamed Trump for the shooting murder of an 18-year-old Loyola University Chicago student by an illegal migrant from Venezuela, who was another one of Biden's catch-and-release killers. The murder resulted from, quote, national failures to have comprehensive immigration reform, a failure of the president to go after the worst of the worst. Shameless from a governor who refuses to cooperate with ICE. Pritzker's Democrat stablemate, local Chicago alderman Marie Hayden, doubled down by blaming the victim of being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Sheridan Gorman was walking with friends on the Chicago lakeshore where Pritzker once filmed a video extolling the safety of his crime-ridden sanctuary city. Hayden said Gorman and friends might have unintentionally startled a masked gun-toting Jose Medina into allegedly jumping out of the bushes and shooting Gorman in the back as she ran from him. Hayden later apologized, but her point was clear. Don't blame the Democrats for sanctuary city policies. It's your own fault if you get killed. Democrat lies are so pervasive that they somehow convinced the Loyola campus newspaper to again apologize for calling Medina an illegal immigrant. Pretending that legal definition of illegal aliens is a slur is a Democrat lie that has been institutionalized into journalism. Care of the AP Style book, the Bible for politically correct language in newsrooms across the country. Then there are the little cheating, self-aggrandizing lies like Democrats like Elizabeth Pocahontas Warren and Tim Stolen Valor Walls and Joe Corn Pop Biden indulge in. They don't necessarily kill anyone, but they add to this level of dishonesty we are drowning in. At the worst, Democrat lies that are laundered for years through once trusted media outlets are the cause of polarization and political violence tearing the country apart. So next time you see an ICE officer at the airport or an unpaid TSA agent, free yourself from lies and tell them thank you. I thought that was a really good piece by Miranda Devine, and I wanted to pass it along to you. We still have a lot to cover. We're running late this hour. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Allegiance flight from Elmira to Myrtle Beach starts May 22nd, 2026. Whether it's a weekend escape or a week in the sun, Myrtle Beach is closer than ever. Non-stop to sun, sand, and seaside days. From takeoff to toes in the sand, your coastal getaway starts right here at Elmira Corning Regional. Mornings on the boardwalk, afternoons on the golf course, and evenings with oceanfront dining or a flight away with Allegiant's new direct flight. Starts May 22nd, 2026. Book now at AllegiantAir.com.
Can you help me?
Mom, Dad, we're going out.
Thank you.
Oh, look, they're playing chess.
What you got there?
Will you help my mom?
She's real sick, huh? Hey, crew, I'll give the first move to anyone who signs up to be an organ donor. How do you do it?
Easy. Just go to organdonor.gov.
You heard them, organdonor.gov.
More donors means more hope. Sign up at organdonor.com.
Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. A couple comments from viewers. The racist, lying Democrats should be ashamed of themselves and take a good look in the mirror. Not to mention they should also rediscover religion, since it is beyond clear they have lost their direction due to being influenced by evil sources. Thank you very much. Comment from a different viewer. I watch your show every day except your repeats, LOL. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. But I really liked Rick's comment today. Finally, in all caps, he had a nice one. By the way, I love your show. Well, thank you very much. Thank you for tuning in. I liked Rick's comment today, too. So Iran did reject U.S.'s peace plan in a blow to end the war. But now we are also learning at the same time, this is why things get so confusing. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said Wednesday that the country's officials are reviewing a U.S. proposal to end the war, but noted that they have no plans to hold talks to bring the expanding conflict in the Middle East to a close. Now, Iran is threatening to take control of the strategic Bab el Mandeb Strait if U.S. invades Karg Island. After effectively shutting down the Strait of Hormuz, Tran warned that the passageway connecting the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden could be next if a U.S. invasion occurs. Quote, if the enemy wants to take action on land in the Iranian island or anywhere else in our lands, or inflict cost on Iran with naval movements in the Persian Gulf and the Sea of Oman, we will open up other fronts for them as a surprise so that their actions will not only be of no benefit to them, but will also double their costs. The Bab al-Mandab Strait is considered one of the world's strategic straits, and Iran has both the will and the ability to create a completely credible threat against it. Therefore, if the Americans want to think of a solution for the Strait of Hormuz with stupid measures, they should be careful not to add another strait to their problems and predicaments. Now, Trump, as I had mentioned earlier in the hour, Trump is prepared to unleash heck. I know. I'm overly cautious, folks. On Iran if it won't come to a deal. White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt said Wednesday, as thousands of U.S. Marines arrived in the region, if they fail to understand that they have been defeated militarily and will continue to be, President Trump will ensure that they are hit harder than they have ever been hit before. President Trump does not bluff, and he is prepared to unleash heck. Iran should not miscalculate again. Their last miscalculation cost them their senior leadership, their Navy, their Air Force, and their air defense system. Now, Iran did obviously react with hostility to the 15-point peace plan, which doesn't necessarily come as a surprise, I don't think, to anybody. Any violence beyond this point will be because the Iranian regime refused to understand they have already been defeated and refused to come to a deal, said Leavitt. The arrival of Marines near Iran's shore opens the prospect of the first land missions for U.S. troops since the war began on February 28th. Look, that's a hypothetical question, Leavitt said, regarding possible ground operations. It's also a decision that would have to be made by the commander-in-chief, and I'm not going to get ahead of him. Trump is dramatically expanding U.S. troop presence near Iran with roughly 7,000 Marines, sailors, and Army parachutists en route to the Middle East. So the number is up to 7,000. We better take another short break here. We're going to talk a little bit more about this, about Iran. We do have a lot of New York State issues to get to in the next hour, so we got to get to those. If you did not hear me this morning, 9 points away is what Bruce Blakeman says that his polling is showing him in the gubernatorial race. So we can talk about that. We got just a couple things here about Iran, but then we got to get to DHS because there's a lot about the DHS too. As I had mentioned earlier and would mention it one other time, just because we had so many questions about it, the White House did reject the offer from Elon Musk to pay for the TSA agents' salaries due to legal reasons, that it would be too complicated because of his government contracts. So that is an update from something that we've talked about a lot on the program. But stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
At the Corning Painted Post High School Learning Center, we provide students with a variety of community-based and academic opportunities and a fresh start. Located on the Corning Community College campus, students earn high school credits and gain real-world experiences through community service, internships, art partnerships, and work opportunities, experiences they value for a lifetime. Our students find a place to reconnect and succeed. The Corning Painted Post High School Learning Center, turning fresh starts into future success.
I don't know about that, man.
Excuse me. Right, Ink?
Come on, man.
No.
Ooh. You're kidding, right?
Actually, I do know. I'll text. You drive.
Happy Thursday, everyone, and thanks for checking in. 67 today, well above that average by nearly 20 degrees. As we head into the afternoon, rain develops, and it will be a pretty soggy afternoon into the overnight time period. Again, this front is going to come through and then drop temperatures as we head into Friday and Saturday. So maybe even a little wintry mix or some light snowflakes trying to develop into that early Friday morning time period. But decreasing clouds Friday, 38 degrees, waking up on Saturday morning.
Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Getting ready to wrap up hour number one. A comment from a viewer. Funny, the mainstream media was crying about Trump manipulating the markets over Iran talks. Now that it is proven Trump was in negotiations, does the mainstream media apologize for manipulating the markets? No, of course not. They just move on to their next quote-unquote scandal. Now, Representative Nancy Mace, walked out of a House Armed Service briefing on Iran, then warned against the U.S. sending troops into Iran. She posted a string of comments on social media beginning with, just walked out of a House Armed Services briefing on Iran. Let me repeat, I will not support troops on the ground in Iran, even more so after this briefing. She also went after, and I don't know what to think of Nancy Mace. That's not a critique. I just don't, kind of all over the place sometimes. But she did take a dig at Lindsey Graham in her post, saying, and yes, when we say Washington's war machine, we mean Lindsey Graham. Now, I will say, well, so let me give you the full context. Washington's war machine is hard at work. They're trying to drag us into Iran to make it another Iraq. We can't let them. And yes, when we say Washington's war machine, we mean Lindsey Graham. There's always been criticism of Lindsey Graham being a hawk, so to speak. But U.S. moves the airborne troops, Marines, as Iran rejects a ceasefire, raising ground war potential. The U.S. is positioning ground-capable forces in the Middle East after Iran rejected a ceasefire proposal Wednesday, a shift that gives Washington new, though limited and high-risk options for potential operations inside Iran. Military experts say the deployments are not a precursor to a large-scale invasion, but instead positions the U.S. for targeted, short-duration missions, options that have taken on new relevance as diplomatic off-ramps narrow. Lawmakers on the Armed Services Committee emerged from a classified briefing on Iran, expressing frustration over a lack of clarity from the administration. Chairman Mike Rogers, Republican from Alabama, said, "We want to know more about what's going on, what the options are, and why they're being considered. We're just not getting enough answers." Senator Roger Wicker said, let me put it this way. I can see why he might have said that. Okay. Now, I don't know what you want to take away from this, but the Army has now raised the maximum enlistment age to 42. Changes highlighted in the memo announced yesterday, or I guess this week, and will go into effect in April, also include the removal of previous enlistment obstacles for recruits who have a single marijuana or drug paraphernalia conviction. The upper limit of the Army's previously allowable enlistment age was 35, but waivers were sometimes granted for older enlistees. The Air Force and Navy allow recruits over 40, while the Marine Corps caps enlistment at 28, but allows hopefuls who are 29 or over to request waivers. Now, I believe I read in a different post that 42 number, you had to have military experience at that point. You're not coming in as a fresh recruit. Oh, we got to take a break. Hour number one in the books. We're going to wrap up Iran after this. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
Go to your local library, create with the 3D printer. Release your inner audio engineer or sewing machine rentals, all with your library card. Go to your local library today.
Give kids time. Just 5 minutes a day. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen.
Looking for a meaningful day trip close to home? Visit the historic Elmira Prison Camp, one of the most significant Civil War sites in the North. Walk the grounds, stand where history happened, discover powerful stories of courage, sacrifice, and survival that shaped our nation. Whether you're a history enthusiast, a family looking to learn together, or simply exploring the Finger Lakes region, we offer an experience you won't forget. Plan your visit today at elmiracivilwar.org. Preserve, discover, remember.
At Carr Phillips in And we want people to know that we're a welcoming family.
We not only serve our community, but we live in our community. Our kids go to school here. It's not uncommon to see one of us at a local business or for a walk, at a sporting event.
The community here and everything it has to offer. I can't think of a better place to raise my children.
We are a part of this community and we're invested in this community.
Visit carpentersphillipsflint.com to learn more about our
And welcome to hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Aiken. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio on Marcus Street Corning. Let's go to some viewer comments. So how is it the paper can run what amounts to a front page ad for No Kings rally and nobody calls them out? Who's the king here? Yes, there's going to be a lot of coverage of the No Kings rally going on this Saturday throughout the country. As I mentioned yesterday, there's local, and we give all sides here. So if you're interested in Elmira, it's at 10 a.m., Hornell at 10 a.m., Hammondsport at noon, Corning at 1, and Watkins Glen at 1:30. Now, I like the Elmira at 10. You go get some lunch when it's over, and then you go to Corning at 1. Then you get counted as twice, so the numbers are even bigger, right? Yes, there'll be a lot of coverage. Ken writes in, I used to get a weekly political magazine, The Week, and what was left-leaning, but every political article did give the magazine's left-leaning opinion. The legacy media's left opinion and the conservative media's right opinion. I let it lapse, and recently after receiving a flyer asking me to subscribe to it again and touting how fair and balanced the coverage is, I decided to try it with an option to cancel if I didn't like it. All I can say is, wow, they went from left-leaning to full-blown, out-of-the-box Trump derangement syndrome. The editor's comment in the first page are 300 words of slamming Trump in every issue. Any sheeple that get this magazine will get infected with severe TDS in the first few pages. It looks like they scour the net and media outlets for anti-Trump articles and podcasts to fill the pages. Interesting. I guess I'm not familiar with the political magazine of the week. Maybe I am. But that's the mainstream media for you, really. I mean, it's no different than the Week, right? It's no different than what we're seeing on the nightly news. Now, Trump said yesterday at that fundraiser that he will not use the word war anymore to describe the military campaign against Iran. Oh, boy, this is going to make some people mad because, quote, you're supposed to get approval. I won't use the word war because they say if you use the word war, that's maybe not a good thing to do. They don't like the word war because then you're supposed to get approval. So I'll use the word military operation, which is really what it is. It's a military decimation. Okay, he's going to get some heat for that. Let's, if you don't mind, we'll kind of tie these two together, but we'll move on because I do have a lot of New York issues that I think is really going to get your attention this morning. But Trump suggests that the DHS shutdown is overshadowing the military triumphs against Iran. They don't want to settle. They want the chaos, referencing the Democrats and the mess at the airports. There are great military triumphs against Iran that can't be displayed on television because they're displaying airports. The radical left Democrats need to get DHS back open immediately. Now, TSA is experiencing the highest wait times in history and may be forced to shutter entire airports. Wow. TSA acting administrator, how would you like that job? Hey, Ngyon McNeil testified to the House Homeland Security Committee that her beleaguered agency is being forced to consolidate and may have to close smaller airports if we do not have enough officers. It is a fluid, challenging, and unpredictable situation. We understand this is frustrating and disruptive. This is unacceptable. Now, the problem with this is, there is no way to spin, and I've got a point here that they're going to try to spin it, but how do Democrats spin this when it is completely on them? They want changes to ICE, and not funding DHS has nothing to do with that. ICE has been funded through the big, beautiful bill. You know this. I don't need to repeat this to you. More than 480 transportation security officers have quit during the shutdown of the Department of Homeland Security, warning that the figure is rapidly growing. On Sunday, the TSA recorded a shocking 11.76% nationwide call-out rate among officers still on the payroll, the highest figure since the shutdown began on Valentine's Day, February 14th. But listen to this, and as I mentioned, because this came up numerous times in the program the last few weeks, or I guess not weeks, last few days, the White House did reject the offer by billionaire Elon Musk to pay TSA workers during a partial government shutdown, according to CBS. The suggestion was taken seriously by Trump, but there could be legal challenges for Musk to cover the pay, even indirectly because of Musk's various government contracts. Another reason, White House officials believe the partial shutdown is likely to end soon, according to a source. Carolyn Leavitt saying, it's the Democrats who have led to this stalemate over the past 6 weeks. The president and the Republicans' position has been very clear. Fund the Department of Homeland Security. Now, on yesterday's broadcast of the Will Cain Show, Representative Jason Crow, a Democrat from Colorado, said the current battle over DHS funding is different from what Democrats have criticized in the past, meaning a government shutdown, because the Democrats are critical of government shutdowns in the past, but yet they've shut it down numerous times recently. Because, quote, you have ICE and CBP murdering people in Minneapolis, and then coming out and saying it was okay to shoot them because they were carrying a weapon. And also said that we literally could end this today and take everything off the table. Nobody's held hostage, no long lines, everyone, except for ICE, is getting paid. What? That's confusing. By doing what Democrats want. Oh, by doing what Democrats want. I see. Well, first of all, it is the job of Congress to pass appropriations bills and to make sure that the agencies are following the law. That's why Congress exists, not just to rubber stamp an appropriations bill or a budget request, but make sure that the law is being followed. The civil rights and constitutional rights of Americans are being followed. If we were simply a rubber stamp to every administration request, Republican or Democrat, then there's no reason for us to be here. But again, it was Hakeem Jeffries who said to use this tactic that we're using today is legislative malpractice and compromise the security of Americans. And that's exactly what you're doing here today. This is, the host, Cain, doing here today with TSA, with the Coast Guard, with the entirety of DHS. Correspondent, it's not. That clip, I think, by your own admission, was 10 years ago before we had a runaway, and he said how something's changed about something being irresponsible. A lot has changed. You have ICE and CBP murdering people in Minneapolis and then coming out and saying it was okay to shoot them because they were carrying a weapon, which, by the way, it was a man carrying a lawfully concealed carry. The easiest way to end this today, and we literally could end this today and take everything off the table. Nobody's held hostage, no long lines, everyone, except for ICE, is getting paid. If we fund every element of DHS except for ICE, we have a bill to do that. So that is their plan. Now, Carolyn Leavitt ripped Democrats yesterday, and this is our last little bit before in the next segment we are going to switch over to New York State issues because I want to get your take on that. We're going to have a clip a little bit later on here from Phil Palmisano as well. But Carolyn Leavitt, keep your great comments coming in. I appreciate it. Carolyn Leavitt ripped Democrats and exposed the reality of the TSA chaos. This is coming from the Sun, not what you would call a friendly outlet for Republicans or Republican presidents. The White House press secretary blamed the Democratic members of Congress for the long lines and worker callouts that she said has caused billions in economic damage since the shutdown began. In a media briefing, Leavitt shared the story of TSA worker Robert Echevarria, who was forced to quit the agency to provide for his family after going weeks without pay. She brought out a letter that he wrote and read it for the press corps. I think the hardest thing is seeing the struggle that my wife was going through and not trying to bring more stress to her, he wrote. I love the agency. I love the people that I worked with, but my family has to come first. Leavitt slammed Democrats, saying that the cruelty of the shutdown is the point. And they've said it in no uncertain terms, that is their point. The more this hurts the American people, and the TSA agents, the loyal TSA agents, mean nothing to them. They're just a pawn in this game. The more it hurts the American people, the better chance they get what they want. Leavitt said Democrats in Congress are forcing American travelers to wait in hours-long lines at airports across the country, robbing TSA officers and other federal workers of their hard-earned paychecks that they use to feed their families, and causing billions of dollars in damage to our economy. White House officials have claimed that the damage is over $2.5 billion in losses. The administration has attempted to alleviate disruption hitting travelers by sending ICE agents, as we know. Carolyn Leavitt said, President Trump's position is very clear. He wants the federal government open. He wants the Department of Homeland Security funded, and he wants the Democrats' shutdown to end immediately. Wow. Just to think that TSA worker has to quit just to provide for his family, a job that he said he loved and was loyal to. And that's where we're at. But we are going to change gears. Feel free to weigh in on the discussions we've had so far. A couple of talking points that we had was the independent candidate out of New York's 21st Congressional District who wants to increase, what was it up to? I already forgot the number. I shouldn't have went without having it in front of me. But what, 6,600 U.S. House of Representative congressmen and women representing us instead of the 435. Anyway, we talked about that. We talked about Iran. We talked just about everything. So you can weigh in on any of it. We do have quite a few New York updates. I'm not going to say the rest of the programs about New York, but there is going to be a kind of the lion's share of it. We may get a little bit more on some opinion pieces about Iran if we have the opportunity. Welfare fraud. There's kind of a few here, hit or miss kind of throwaway stories that we may get to as well. So stay with us. We got to take a short break. We will be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
At the Corning Painted Post High School Learning Center, we provide students with a variety of community-based and academic opportunities and a fresh start. Located on the Corning Community College campus, students earn high school credits and gain real-world experiences through community service, internships, art partnerships, and work opportunities, experiences they value for a lifetime. Our students find a place to reconnect and succeed. The Corning Painted Post High School Learning Center, turning fresh starts into future success.
This is one of the busiest highways in America. Thousands of trucks travel up and down it all hours of the day, and big trucks can cause catastrophic injuries. That's when you need the power of William Mattar, the largest motor vehicle accident firm in the state. At William Mattar, we only handle motor vehicle accident cases, and we fight for big money and big results. Hurt in a car, only call William Mattar.
Always drive at a responsible speed for your surroundings. Know the boating regulatory zones, including no wake zones, which are marked by white and orange buoys. That means keep it under 5 miles per hour. As a captain, you need to ensure that you're respecting other boaters. Always follow the navigation rules, such as red right return, be courteous with your wake, and never anchor in the channel.
Happy Thursday, everyone, and thanks for checking in. 67 today, well above that average by nearly 20 degrees. As we head into the afternoon, rain develops, and it will be a pretty soggy afternoon into the overnight time period. Again, this front is going to come through and then drop temperatures as we head into Friday and Saturday. So maybe even a little wintry mix or some light snowflakes trying to develop into that early Friday morning time period. But decreasing clouds Friday, 38 degrees, waking up on Saturday.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson's studio here on Market Street Corning. Let's go to some viewer comments. Thanks for reminding me about the No Kings. I want to be front and center with a laughing face. Yeah, that would be a lot of fun. That's a good way to spend your Saturday. Comment, but the weather's, when it starts to break, last year, there's sometimes, what was it? Last year, Easter, if I'm not mistaken, a week before Easter or week was it after? So right around this time, we must have had nicer weather. I remember that there was 3 in one day, or 3 in 1 week, I should say. And I guess they're not all technically No Kings, but the same concept. All right, comment from a different viewer. No Kings rally. Thought the idiots had realized their idiotic behavior was silly and accomplished nothing. Apparently not. If I had bushels of rotten tomatoes, I would give them away for free so that the good people could show these rabble-rousers their objection to the dummies stinking up the air of our country. Thank you very much. Comment from a different viewer. Over $2 billion in losses. How? Where did that number come from? Oh, that's just what the Trump administration was releasing, $2.5 billion losses because of, it must be canceled flights and things like that because of TSA agents. I'm not sure. The article didn't say exactly where that number came from. Also, a viewer wrote in about this, and we didn't get a chance to mention it yesterday, but it's definitely worth Highlighting, in case you missed it, the Missouri Supreme Court handed the GOP a win in their redistricting battle. A Tuesday decision from the state's top court makes it more likely that Republicans will pick up a seat in Missouri, but is not expected to be the final word before November. In a 4-3 decision, the court ruled that a clause in the state constitution directing Missouri lawmakers to draw new maps after each census does not impose restrictions on the legislature from taking up redistricting in the middle of the decade. Quote, the obligation to legislate congressional districts once a decade does not limit the General Assembly's power to redistrict more frequently than once a decade. The decision came after Missouri Republicans jumped into the nationwide redistricting battle triggered by President Trump's push for states with Republican-controlled legislatures to create new GOP-leaning seats. Missouri's new map, which would net the GOP one additional seat by breaking up Representative Emanuel Cleaver's Kansas City-based seat, faced little resistance, and the legislature was quickly approved by Republican Governor Mike Kehoe. So that's a big win for the GOP. All right. On the New York front, let's look at, well, do I want to go local? No, hold on. This first, because this broke last night. New York Attorney General Letitia James was hit with 2 federal criminal referrals yesterday, alleging she may have committed homeowners insurance fraud. Federal Housing Finance Agency Director William Pult alleged in the missives obtained by the New York Post that James may have falsified information in filings with Illinois-based Allstate Insurance Company and Florida-based University Property Insurance. The referrals were sent to U.S. Attorney for Northern District of Illinois, Andrew Boutros, and U.S. Attorney for Southern District of Florida, Jason Redding Quinones. They come 4 months after a federal judge in Virginia dismissed a criminal indictment against James, accusing the Empire State's top prosecutor of mortgage fraud. Both of Pult's referrals cite insurance documents posted on social media by Mike Davis, a close ally of President Trump and founder of the conservative judicial advocacy group Article 3 Project. The document appears to suggest James represented to the Illinois-based insurer that a Norfolk, Virginia property she purchased in 2020, quote, would be occupied by a single adult with no children, end quote. Instead, according to the Post, she knew the house was actually occupied by 4 people, 3 children and her niece. As such, it appears Miss James may have defrauded the Illinois-based insurance company. In the Florida referral, Pult alleged James made false representations to University Property Insurance that the same Norfolk home would be unoccupied 5 months out of the year. According to the Post, this was false. The house was, in fact, occupied year-round by her niece. A Justice Department spokesperson confirmed that the referrals were received by the U.S. attorneys. James' attorney dismissed the allegations as baseless and argued the referrals were part of an improper revenge campaign. Frustrated by repeat failures where judges and grand juries have rejected their attempts to charge Attorney General James, Trump and his political enablers keep abusing their powers to pursue a vendetta against her by trying to rename, refile, and repeat baseless allegations. They continue this improper revenge campaign instead of helping bring down the rising cost of living in this country. These desperate tactics will fail just as every previous attempt has failed, and exposes an administration that has abandoned its responsibilities to the American people in favor of petty political payback. U.S. District Judge Cameron Curry dismissed the DOJ's mortgage fraud case against James last November after finding the interim U.S. Attorney Lindsay Halligan was improperly appointed to her position and had no lawful authority to secure indictments. 2 other federal grand juries subsequently refused to re-indict James. The mortgage fraud case pertained to the same property mentioned in Pult's latest criminal referrals. There you go. All right. Now, we do have to take a short break because I want to kind of get reset. And there's going to be 2 very local stories. And then we're going to get to overall, and if you didn't hear me mention it earlier, according to Bruce Blakeman, gubernatorial candidate, according to his internal polls, he's within 9 points of Governor Hochul. Now, you can look at internal polls a couple different ways. If you're doing it right, in my opinion, they should be more accurate than what you see on the news, for instance, because you should be looking to see how you could actually win this case. So when I hear that, win this campaign, when I hear like for instance, when President Trump was saying the internal polls look good during his campaign, I'd like to hear that more than when you start to, because I know there was reports of anonymous sources saying at the time that Harris's internal polling was not looking good. So you wouldn't want to get internal polling that was skewed or biased or only looking for, Republicans, for instance. So according to Blakeman's people, he's at 9. We'll talk about that. We also have quite a few other issues regarding New York State and its budget process right now. Just a few short days when the budget is technically due. Will we make it? Will it be done by April 1st? I don't think so. My guess is no. Also, thank you to everybody. Keep reaching out, asking about Brown Cigar Store. It does look as if that they will be, they have some potential buyers, but it looks as if, as of right now, the state has not changed its mind in any way. It could be closing after 136 years, so we'll keep you updated on everything that we learn. But keep your waves, keep your comments coming in. We still got a lot to cover. We only got about 40 minutes to get there, so stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
What better way to start or end every day than relaxing in your very own Hesselson's hot tub? Massage therapy, relaxation, stress reliever, pain management, soothing muscles, or just spending time with a loved one. Hot water therapy really does make every day better. Hesselson's has been a part of this great community for over 70 years, still being locally owned and operated. So make the drive to Hesselson's and start making your path to a better life today. And after 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
State is putting nearly $60 million towards improving key roadways across the southern tier.
Many older homes are still at risk for exposing residents to high levels of lead.
The Nani Hood Parent Resource Center once again brought the community together for its annual Halloween parade.
Around the southern tier, the Finger Lake stands out for its scenery and wine scene. This year's dry drought brought some positives to the crop. Lee Com Center is looking for fans to show up and show out.
Small businesses are the heart of America. Like you, these entrepreneurs started out with a dream and the drive to build a better life. If you have a small business idea to grow or challenge to face, you don't have to go it alone. Since 1964, SCORE has helped millions of entrepreneurs build their businesses. Today, they are the nation's largest nonprofit source of expert mentoring, resources, and education. Whether you're starting out, building back, or have worked at it for years, SCORE will match you with specialized mentors. Our thousands of volunteers provide the guidance and connections you need for free. Your success is waiting. SCORE is ready to help. Find a mentor today at SCORE.org.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Comment from a viewer from Jack. He says, good morning, Frank. Well, good morning, Jack. This morning before your show started, I desperately looked for a new show to watch with less left-leaning reporting, but couldn't find any and thought of a fear came over me of how we can possibly be heard above the relentless rhetoric. Finally, my phone alarm went off to remind me to watch Frankly Speaking, then a feeling of calm. Thank you so much for being there. Well, thank you, Jack. Thank you for the kind words. All right, in local and regional and New York State issues. Okay, I'm going to read the headline and you guess. Well, you don't have to text in, but you just guess where this could be. An upstate New York county is considering raising its minimum wage above the $16 state requirement. So I'll give you just a second. What do you think? An upstate New York county is considering raising its minimum wage above the $16 state requirement. Tompkins County Legislature authorized a study, you guessed it, and contracted Cornell ILR Ithaca CoLab to conduct the research and facilitate public conversation. The agreement was valued up to $50,000. What? So they had a study that cost $50,000 of taxpayers' money to find if they should increase minimum wage. The county held its first public meeting on Tuesday at Tompkins County Whole Health in Ithaca. It was the beginning, well, good place to hold it, Ithaca. It was the beginning of a community engagement process that will include multiple stakeholders' discussions over the coming months. Researchers will examine how a county-wide minimum wage might affect workers, employers, and various industry sectors. The study will also consider cost of living variations across the county, employment levels, business viability, and impacts on rural communities and border economies. Local data highlights the wage gap facing many county residents. Approximately half of wage earners in Tompkins County earn less than the locally calculated living wage of $24.82 per hour. So no numbers given, but it sounds like they would want to go over $24.82 an hour in Tompkins County. There you go. No surprise. All right, now let's get to some really important. See, I'm looking at my comments. When there's comments coming in, I get distracted, but it's a good thing. That's a good thing to have. All right. State Senator Tom O'Mara. This is so moving. If you haven't seen this yet, he and his colleagues in the Senate Republican Conference today presented a Senate Commendation Award to Chemung County Sheriff Investigator Michael Tetke. Tetke, accompanied by his wife Patrice, was at the Capitol yesterday to be recognized by members of the state Senate and Assembly. And while I'm reading you what Senator Tom O'Mara had to say, why don't we put up that great picture of them receiving the award? The Senate Commendation Award is one of the Senate's highest honors, recognizing individuals who have served and made lasting contributions to their communities and the state. The award recognizes achievements and contributions in volunteerism, public service, business, education, and law enforcement, among others, as well as, in Tetke's case, acts of bravery in the line of duty. Senator O'Mara saying, "We are honored to have the opportunity to honor and recognize Investigator Tetke for the ongoing strong commitment to law enforcement and public safety, his courage, and the enormous sacrifices he made in the line of duty protecting our community. It has been a long and hard road of recovery, yet he remains committed to the vital work of law enforcement, mentoring young officers, and the critical mission of public safety and security. His perseverance and strength are inspiring. He continues to earn our respect and the widespread support of the local community and the men and women in blue locally, statewide, and across the nation." Now, if you recall, back in March of 2024, Tetke, in pursuit of a suspect at Target that was suspected of a retail theft operation, was struck and thrown by the getaway vehicle being used in the crime. He was critically injured, suffering a traumatic brain injury. He has faced a prolonged period of rehabilitation and recovery, undergoing specialized treatment and surgeries to recover from his injuries, including most recently a series of major spinal surgeries at the Virginia Spine Institute. So again, State Senator Tom O'Mara and his colleagues honoring and presenting the Senate Commendation Award to Chemung County Sheriff's Investigator Michael Tetke. I thought that was really nice. I hope that gets traction and people share that great news. Okay, oh no, I'm doing good on time. Okay, there is, as we focus on New York State issues, I've got to get all my ducks in a row here for just a moment. Okay, there is a bill out, and it's funding of child care. And Assemblyman Phil Palmisano joined his Assembly Republican colleagues to voice his support for fully funding the Child Care Assistance Program, which helps families pay for child care, as well as push for the enactment of the A Blueprint for Child Care Plan, or ABC. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that. But Ed Raw had a statement on it. I'm trying to get this right. There it is. Okay. And I wanted to make sure that we had that up for you so that you can hear it to learn a little bit more about it as we focus on the the statewide Albany issue. Here we go.
We are here today to highlight the significant gaps that remain in our child care system. I know we've all heard a lot of talk about this issue this year, prior years, and it's nice to know that this crisis is on the radar of almost everyone in Albany. But the good news is this problem can be solved. But it's time that definitive action starts catching up on the promises that have been made. The investments in the Child Care Assistance Program are a step forward, but they haven't kept up with demand, and too many families are still left without support. More than half of New York is considered a child care desert, meaning families don't have access to care. And we can applaud the expansion of child tax credits, investments in the Child Care Assistance Program, but when the applause fades, the funding often fades with it. Our conference, over the course of the last couple of years, have been talking about this issue. When we released a blueprint for child care, our ABC plan, providing immediate financial relief while reforming the rules that make long-term access difficult, we tried to address every faction of this. We talked about, the tax credit side, the funding for families, but also the investments in the workforce, the investments in capital for providers, so that we make sure that those child care deserts actually have access. Because you can give a family support to pay for child care, but if there aren't actually providers, it doesn't accomplish anything. It doesn't give them a place to go for their families. And I've even had individuals tell me they had, when they were having maybe their second child, they had one already in a child care program and still couldn't get the second one in there because there just wasn't an adequate amount of seats. So I think families of all backgrounds, income levels, regions of the state are struggling to find accessible and affordable child care, and I think we have to address both that lack of access as well as the need for sustained funding so that every family shouldn't have to question whether they can secure safe, reliable child care so that they can participate in our economy as a state. The longer we wait, the more our families lose, and I think we can do better for New York families, and the time to act on that is now.
Thank you to Assemblyman Republican leader Ed Raw. Now we will hear from Phil Palmisano, who writes, the ABC plan outlines a comprehensive approach to making child care more affordable and accessible by providing tax relief for families and providers, expanding and enhancing existing tax credits to lower out-of-pocket child care costs for working families, increase incentives to support child care providers, and encourage the creation and expansion of facilities, exploring targeted tax relief options at both the state and local levels to reduce operating costs for providers, expanding access to early childhood education, strengthening and modernizing universal pre-K programs to improve funding, flexibility, and coordination with child care providers, and examining opportunities to expand early childhood education access for younger children, and in improving affordability and availability of care, promoting flexible child care models, including non-traditional hours, to better meet the needs of working families, reduce regulatory barriers that limit the creation and expansion of child care providers, and supporting innovative solutions to increase provider capacity and parental choice. Now, this is what the Assemblyman had to say about this. Assemblyman Phil Palmisano. Child care is unaffordable for so many parents throughout the state. In fact, 64% of New Yorkers live in child care deserts, higher than the national average, highlighting just how widespread that issue has become. This is especially true in our rural communities where access is even more limited. That is why we need to make sure we fully fund CCAP, as a current lack of funding has caused mid-year disruptions for families as well as a pause in applications. This has forced families to make difficult choices between ensuring their child has adequate care and meeting other financial needs. In addition, the legislature must act on our child care plan, which will increase access and bring down costs. Every family deserves access to affordable, quality child care, which is why I'm proud to support these proposals. So thank you to Assemblyman Phil Palmisano. I told you we're going to go New York State specific in this second hour. We've got quite a few other things on this, not on that specifically, but on New York State in general. So let's take a short break. Keep those waves, keep those comments coming in. And we will be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox, please stay with us.
Insurance companies don't make money by paying claims. They make money by denying them. They hire doctors to say you're not that hurt. They bring in lawyers to chip away at your case. They stall, they argue, they cut corners, because every dollar they save is another dollar of profit. At WDC Injury Law, we know their tactics, and we fight back with facts and evidence. If you've been injured in New York or Pennsylvania, call 607-500-HURT. Don't let the insurance companies control your story.
Allegiant's flight from Elmira to Myrtle Beach starts May 22nd, 2026. Whether it's a weekend escape or a week in the sun, Myrtle Beach is closer than ever. Non-stop to sun, sand, and seaside days. From takeoff to toes in the sand, your coastal getaway starts right here at Elmira Corning Regional. Mornings on the boardwalk, afternoons on the golf course, and evenings with oceanfront dining or a flight away with Allegiant's new direct flight. Starts May 22nd, 2026. Book now at AllegiantAir.com.
I just love coming in after they've been here and seeing everything clean and tidy. It's such a good way to start the week.
Sometimes I wonder if they are magic.
I feel like it's the details that is everything. The being able to pick up on things that most people don't see or don't even think about.
House, business, or anything else, go with Magic Rags. The Enchanted Crew has you covered from ceiling to floor.
Happy Thursday, everyone, and thanks for checking in. 67 today, well above that average by nearly 20 degrees. As we head into the afternoon, rain develops, and it will be a pretty soggy afternoon into the overnight time period. Again, this front is going to come through and then drop temperatures as we head into Friday and Saturday. So maybe even a little wintry mix or some light snowflakes trying to develop into that early Friday morning time period. But decreasing clouds Friday, 38 degrees, waking up on Saturday.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. So it's interesting that Newsweek, or was it Newsweek? I thought it was the Daily News, presented the findings that Blakeman, at least according to his internal polling, is just 9 points away from Hochul. And they presented it as, I thought it was the Daily News. What did the Empire Report put it as? Even Blakeman's internal polls show him down 9 points. Well, New York, 9 points. If that were true, I think, what was it? Lee Zeldin ended up being within 6 points, I want to say, when the smoke cleared. But I'm going to tell you what a better piece on this is. But Republican gubernatorial candidate Bruce Blakeman has pulled within striking distance of Governor Hochul among New York voters, according to an internal poll. Blakeman, who currently serves as Nassau County's chief executive, trails Hochul by 9 points, 52% to 43%, among 800 voters polled during an internal survey conducted in early March by Republican pollster John McLaughlin. The poll revealed early Wednesday by Politico had a margin of error of plus or minus 3.5 percentage points. So, Blake's campaign believes the internal survey shows he has a path to defeat Hochul in November, as some Republicans think the governor has become vulnerable due to rising utility costs. Former GOP representative, hey, I didn't even see that's who it is. Former GOP representative Tom Reed, friend of Frankly Speaking, said she is a good person. I know her, but given the right candidate and the right political background and the size of the silent majority that could be harnessed, we could have a candidate who should walk away with it. But I just don't see that in the scenario that's developing come November. So pessimistic on Blakeman's chances, like I think many of us have been. But that was Tom Reed in regards to Governor Hochul. It's one of those things. I'm glad Lee Zeldin is the head of the EPA, but boy, it would have been nice to have him give it another shot. If it could have been Stefanik, and Stefanik chose not to. We don't have to relitigate that. We were all disappointed. I think the excitement right now would be you could cut it with a knife if she was in it. We'd be having a blast with it. Right now, I went and saw Blakeman speak, did a great job in Elmira. I think I'm going to say everybody watched. I don't want to sound like Trump. Everybody says. But many of the viewers out there would have really enjoyed what he had to say and really agreed with it. But to former Congressman Tom Reed's point, I just don't see that in a scenario that's developing come November of a Republican defeating Hochul, or Blakeman specifically, I should say, beating Hochul. Hochul has dominated Blakeman thus far in general election polls with the incumbent governor leading the Nassau County executive 51% to 31% in a Siena poll. But Blakeman's camp believes the Republican can build on the prior success of Lee Zeldin, who lost by just 6 points to Hochul back in 2022. Blakeman's campaign has about $1.6 million in cash compared to Hochul, who has roughly 10 times that amount. It's another frustration. Again, not to relitigate it, but we know that Elise Stefanik is a powerhouse when it comes to fundraising. Now, that was Newsweek's kind of, I would say, biased take on it. Now, was there a quote? I thought there was a quote from Blakeman, but I guess not. A spokesman for Hochul said, while Governor Hochul keeps putting money back in New Yorkers' pockets, Bruce Blakeman's MAGA brain rot campaign is somehow going worse than anyone expected as he defends Trump's ICE, champions Trump's expensive illegal tariffs, and doubles down on Trump's fight to cut Medicaid. Our thoughts and prayers are with the New York GOP. We wouldn't want to be stuck with him either. Oof. Now, this coming out by Von Golden. The Empire State's gubernatorial race is tightening. As we mentioned, that Blakeman is in single digits from Hochul. These are ominous results for the Democratic incumbent governor, said pollster McLaughlin, an associate, writing in the memo to the Blakeman campaign. More important, the results provide a path to victory for Bruce Blakeman. With enough resources, Bruce Blakeman can define himself to the electorate and defeat Kathy Hochul in November. It is a bright spot for Blakeman after Sanders University poll conducted had him down 20 points. The problem is, how does he get that fundraising? How do we get fundraising going to where you can compete? Right now, Hochul has 10 times what he has cash in hand. And Hochul, whatever you think of it, is spending taxpayers' dollars on commercials that look very similar to campaign ads. We've talked about that on the program recently. So where does that put Mr. Blakeman? Now, Politico, and again, this is biased. I'm just trying to get your opinion. Bruce Blakeman wants to build on former Representative Lee Zeldin's Empire State success, but turning New York red is proving to be a steep climb. Republicans came tantalizingly close to flipping the governor's office 4 years ago, with Zeldin falling just 6 points short of unseating Kathy Hochul. Today, the 70-year-old Blakeman is trailing the governor by double digits in public polls. His cozy relationship with President Trump and appearances alongside MAGA world types like John Eastman have become easy fodder for Hochul's political team, and Blakeman is struggling with fundraising as Democrats signal they try to deny him matching funds under New York's public financing system, a move that, if successful, would cripple his campaign. Yeah, and I mentioned this just quickly when Phil Palmisano was on the program. They're trying to withhold that public funds because, remember, they tell you that basically taxpayer-funded campaign money, it's about making it easier for people to run. But you ever notice how it isn't easier when it comes to people they don't want to run? All it does is favor the incumbent. And yet you and I are paying for the matching funds of candidates we do not support, that we would never support. Your money is still going to that. Well, they are trying to make it so Blakeman does not receive the matching funds that they claim opens up the door for more people to run. Interesting. Hypocrisy, of course. Those challenges have only intensified as the New York Democrat Party announced a 7-figure ad campaign this month to hammer Blakeman as a Trump, quote, suck-up. Blakeman's $1.6 million cash on hand is far behind Hochul, who has around 10 times that much, as I mentioned earlier. John Castamadis, a Republican mogul and radio station owner, referring to the fundraising disparity, said Bruce Blakeman has to make sure he raises money. He has to make sure he doesn't spend it stupidly. Since Zeldin's overperformance 4 years ago, the GOP in New York has gained registered voters, but a yawning enrollment gap remains. Democrats captured crucial suburban swing House seats, continue to dominate the Albany State House, and lap Republicans in statewide funding. You've got to add, what's nerve-wracking about this is because Lee Zeldin campaigned so hard and did such a good job, remember, that led to Republicans winning House seats that were not expected because he would campaign with them, and it really did an amazing job. As a matter of fact, Nancy Pelosi was outraged at the job Hochul did because of it. Anyway, I'm afraid if you believe, as it sounds like former Congressman Reed does, that Blakeman's probably not going to be able to do it. Well, hopefully he gets out there enough, and so far we have not seen that, but gets out there enough to campaign and hopefully put some Republicans over the edge in House seats. Demonstrating to the party's deep-pocketed donors that a GOP candidate can win remains a heavy lift. Former Westchester County Executive Rob Astorino, who ran for governor back in 2014, said Republican donors in New York have to be either serious about helping our candidate or they can continue to stay on the sidelines, come up with an excuse about why they don't donate, complain, and then move out. I heard complaints from our donor class, but they were afraid to donate or didn't want to. Money will equal things out in many ways, which is what the Democrats are afraid of. Republicans are counting on Blakeman to be a strong top of the ticket during a midterm election year that's shaping up to be a tough one for them. To maintain control of the House, the GOP will need to be successful in down-ballot races, including a handful of New York swing seats. At a minimum, Blakeman must turn out Republican and conservative-leaning independents to make the party competitive in this deep blue state. Unlike Representative Elise Stefanik, Blakeman lacks a statewide profile that Hochul, once New Yorkers' little-known lieutenant governor, has built up during her first term. Aside from amassing a large war chest, Hochul has a fully staffed campaign that has hammered Blakeman daily. Empire State Republicans haven't held the governor's office in 20 years, a drought that nearly ended with Zeldin, who campaigned intensely on a public safety platform, raised his name recognition, and sharpened his platform during a 4-candidate primary. 4 years later, Blakeman, by contrast, is barely a blip on New York's political radar. Republicans, including those who believe that Blakeman's campaign has made strides in recent weeks to win support, acknowledge that the race's low visibility roughly 8 months before Election Day has further complicated an already tough dynamic for Blakeman. Steve McLaughlin, the Republican Rensselaer County executive and a Blakeman ally, said it's really easy for people to say primaries are bad. That's usually party people who are saying that because it makes their lives easier when there's no primary. It helps the candidates find their message and become better known because their activities around the race. Sometimes there's cleansing. I do think in some ways we would have benefited from a primary. Oh yeah, so now everybody wants Stefanik in, right? I'm talking about in the kind of the entrenched class. Blakeman launched his bid, blah, blah, blah. We know all about that. We don't have to go through all of that. But yeah, it's tough. Now, Blakeman's campaign blasted the effort to deny him matching funds as desperate and noted that the necessary form that the public financing officer argues needs to be filed does not yet exist. The fact that the state's own website lists Bruce Blakeman as eligible for the matching funds program, the form they claim he needed to file doesn't even exist, and Hochul changed the rules right after Bruce qualified. Pure corruption to cover Hochul's affordability crisis. All right, there we go. Still, Republican activists, accustomed to being outspent, are not sounding an alarm quite yet, saying the governor has just a gazillion dollars, so you can always use more money. That's the only advantage of not having a primary. You don't have to spend money on it. You can put it right into the race. All right, we got to take a short break. Wow, we are getting ready to wrap up. Stay with us.
Nearly 500 kilos of cocaine has been seized in a bust.
Thousands lined the pier at Seneca Harbor. Race weekend brought thousands to Watkins Glen International.
Hundreds and Horseheads joined other cities around the country on Saturday for the No Kings protest.
Give kids time. Just 5 minutes a day. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen.
It's Championship in March at our Declaration of Deals event. Right now at Chilson Wilcox, save $10,000 on Ram 1500 during Truck Month. Choose from 25 2025 Jeep Grand Cherokees on the lot. Save $8,800. Or get 0% for 60 months or no payments for 90 days. Take advantage of loyalty and conquest offers, plus $2,000 in sell-down bonus cash. Declaration of Deals Championship in March event, now at Chilson Wilcox. Don't miss it. Hurry in today before the buzzer sounds.
World Youth Clubs provides professional and technical assistance to all our affiliate clubs all around the world. We already have 44 countries that are behind us providing safe spaces for kids, but there are 160 other countries we'd like to reach out to. Yeah. Right, Rod? Exactly. We need you to help fund the World Youth Clubs and make their dream come true.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Let's go to some viewer comments. Mark writes in, if Elise Stefanik was still in the running, she would probably be ahead of Hochul by 9 points or more. I think it would be very close. I think it would definitely be single digits at this point. And, well, I don't want to. Yes, you're right, Mark. I agree. It would be a much more competitive race. Comment from a different viewer. So now the government that wants to tax people into oblivion is concerned about childcare. Stop throwing money away and cut taxes. People will have money for far more than just childcare. Thank you very much. Ken writes in, did you see what USC did in California? Apparently, the California primary system is that party doesn't matter. The top two become the candidates. This is really interesting. I know, Ken. USC had a gubernatorial debate scheduled, but when they found out that the polling was showing that the top two candidates were both Republicans, they canceled the debate. Yeah, very telling of USC. But that is interesting. And we had a piece on this last week, I think, where the way they set up that system and the way Democrats had the infighting going, that right now there could be a major upset on the horizon as a Republican could win, which is great, could win the governor's race in California. That would be something to see. Comment from a different viewer, and I really like this one. I like all of our comments, but this I think is really poignant. I'm really bothered by what seems to be a minor violation against Brown's Cigar Store and the fact that they will be forced to sell after 136 years, if I could add. When I first heard about this, I was outraged that not only because they really are a pillar in this community and a business that has been friendly and reliable, but knowing what shops have been popping up on Market Street, making it less desirable to shop local, in my opinion. And in fact, I know of a business that I patronized often that moved because of the stench from the smoke shop next door. But it seems we turn a blind eye to these concerns. Do they check their licenses? Are they harassed? Do they comply? I fear that Corning will be something we don't recognize in another 10 years. Yes, you have a business, Brown Cigar Store, that does so much for our community. Any charitable organization will tell you that when you had to put tickets on sale for an event, you always went to Brown's and you could purchase them at Brown Cigar Store. They always do so much for the Salvation Army. You remember I had that huge donation from them during the telethon last year. We can go on how much they do for the community. And if you want to talk, because we had one really close to our office, if you want to talk about the illegal pot shops that they couldn't close down, that when Corning Inc. workers and all workers were walking down the street, had to go through their clouds of marijuana smoke. No, do you think they were checking ID, those illegal pot shops, if someone was 21? No. Were they harassed for that? It was one afternoon, maybe the Office of Cannabis Management would come in and they'd be open later that day. So you're right. They're picking them because the health department hates tobacco products, even though I wonder how the health department members get paid. Do you think it could be because of the taxes on tobacco products? But having said that, they just decided to harass a business, or do it, not harass, do a sting operation on a business that has been in Corning for 136 years. Paid their tax. Do you think they ever missed a tax bill? No. Never missed a tax bill, 136 years. And think of the tax revenue that New York State is losing out of if Browns could have stayed open. But they were happy to take that tax money for 136 years and then put up a sting operation to knock them out of business. Comment from a different viewer. I am also furious about Brown Cigar Store. If Houghton's were still around, that would not be happening. It is. I know. I hate to end the program on that note, but we're just about ready to. Hochul wants a climate reprieve, but again, I know they're very appreciative of all the outpouring that they've received and all the people wishing them well and how mad they are about the whole situation. I don't have an answer for you on how to rectify it. I know there's a lot of people behind the scenes working on it, but it's a tough one when you're talking about bureaucracy at the state and something like, the state, like a Governor Hochul, who, even though they love the taxes from it, they hate tobacco so much. Hochul wants a climate reprieve. As utility costs soar in New York, she seeks a delay in cap and tax. Everything's a delay, folks. If you vote her in November, Come December, it's all going right back into place. Steve Forbes writes, drive out wealth, then beg. Hochul's New York in a nutshell. It's a really good piece of Fox News when she was begging last week for billionaires to come back. If the governor is serious about keeping successful, productive people in New York, the solution isn't to beg them to return. It's to make the state worth staying in. That means lowering marginal tax rates, not threatening to raise them. It means reining in spending, especially in massive programs like Medicaid, through efficiency reforms and eligibility discipline. It means rolling back excessive regulations that choke business formation and drive up costs, particularly in New York City. Most importantly, it means rethinking the role of government itself. New York doesn't need to be everything to everyone. It needs to be a place where ambition is rewarded, not penalized. The wealthy won't return because they're asked. They'll return when New York once again earns their investment. And Carolyn Markowitz said, New York's Hochul drove me to Florida. Now she's begging me to return. Not going to happen. It wasn't just extremely wealthy New Yorkers who took a look around and realized their taxes weren't being used properly. Plenty of non-billionaires and millionaires, multimillionaires left too. The fabric of the city changed. No, Governor Hochul can no longer keep New Yorkers captive. It's too late now to bring them home. They are home. It's just not in New York anymore. I thought that was really good couple pieces. I know we didn't get to really read them all. Well, that does it for today's edition of Frankly Speaking. Boy, that went quick, didn't it? We covered a lot as well. I hope that you will join us on tomorrow's edition, Friday's edition of Frankly Speaking. Breaking news right now. I guess this came out earlier this morning. President Trump issued an early morning warning to Iran, telling the Islamic Republic officials to buckle down and get serious about negotiating before it's too late. The Iranian negotiators are very different and strange, the president said on Truth Social. They are begging us to make a deal, which they should be doing since they have been militarily obliterated with zero chance of a comeback, and yet they publicly state that they are only looking at our proposal. Wrong. No, they better get serious soon before it is too late, because once that happens, there is no turning back, and it won't be pretty. All right, I'm sure we'll be talking about that tomorrow. Thank you for all the amazing comments this morning. We always have amazing comments, but just lately they've been on fire, everybody. Doing great. So we do appreciate that, and join us every weekday morning starting at 6 a.m. I know this week, because of Iran and so many things going on, we were so full the last couple of weeks with guests. I decided this week to kind of, for lack of a better word, take it easy just so you and I could have more time spent together. But we are going to have special guests next week, the week after. It is going to kick right back into high gear. I just think we needed a week where it's just a little bit of time for us to get as much out there as we possibly could. But next week we'll have guests, and I don't have them in front of me, but they will. There'll be quite a few that are already booked and nothing yet. Oh, I know next week who I should mention. I know I have like 20 seconds here to kill. Next week we're going to be talking to Doc Possum. Remember all that great music during the telethon? Well, Doc Possum is going to be joining us next week. And then on Good Friday, next Friday, Joe Sempolinski. So how about that? So we got a couple guests already lined up for this next week. So make sure you tune in next week, but also just tune in every weekday morning starting at 6 a.m. for Frankly Speaking, only on WYDC TV Big Fox. We will see you tomorrow morning bright and early. I look forward to it already. Have a great day, everyone.
It's Championship in March at our Declaration of Deals event. Right now at Chilson Wilcox, save $10,000 on Ram 1500 during Truck Month. Choose from 25 2025 Jeep Grand Cherokees on the lot. Save $8,800. Or get 0% for 60 months or no payments for 90 days. Take advantage of loyalty and conquest offers, plus $2,000 in sell-down bonus cash. Declaration of Deals Championship in March event, now at Chilson Wilcox. Don't miss it. Hurry in today before the buzzer sounds.